Hi there, I'm Mark and welcome to Book-ramble. And this one is about two children's books about war. Again, serendipity. I was out this very morning, took my grandson out, who's not been well recently. Took him out for a little walk, give him some winter sun. And we went into a book shop. I had no conception that I would find these, and they were there in the same shop. And got speaking to the lady. It was a thrift shop. I got them $1 each. It's unbelievable. They are to do with the Australian army, withdrawn from libraries. Amazing. Let's talk about this one first. I was only 19. So in the 80s, there was a song called 19, Paul Hardcastle, I believe. The average age of soldiers in the Vietnam conflict was 19. And of course, it wasn't just American. This is the Australian army, and you got all the helicopters. But it's actually from a guy who was 19 in the war, but is now an old man. And it's him reflecting back on what happened. Just stunning. And it's naive art, as you can see. It's about a guy who, when he's 19 in the late 60s, he is called up and he joins the army. Australia had committed to soldiers in the war. This is him. He's around about here. That represents in black and white one of the pictures in Townsville, so he's way up in Queensland country. And he is joining up and he goes off to Vietnam. And it's all about really the orange sunsets, and then they're in action. I'll show you two pictures now, but I'll be hidden behind it. And it's really stuff from war movies, isn't it? Helicopter. A mate of his gets wounded. And a couple of times in the book, it's him as an old man back in Australia. And he's saying, how come when I hear a helicopter, and this is from here, it's like one from the news channels, how come it has an effect on him, a reaction still all those years later, and he's got an itch, and it's him looking back. So at the end it's got this lovely melancholy feeling to it, because time has passed on. He was 19, he saw some terrible things, and it's just beautifully written. Likewise, this one, and it's exactly the same. It's been withdrawn from Auckland libraries. Why do we have the Australian Army here? Because it's ANZACs, the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. What this is showing may be from the perspective of the Australian Army, but it's really the same for the New Zealand Army as well. But this one is in Afghanistan. And goes back to 2013. Makes sense right at the end, where it talks about the soldiers often befriended stray dogs because of shelling, and it had a real effect on them recovering from PTSD. It says soldiers from Australia, Great Britain and other countries have adopted stray dogs while serving in Afghanistan. Many have also brought them home with the help of Nawzad, an animal shelter in Kabul. These adopted dogs have proved useful for soldiers dealing with post-traumatic stress. This was written in 2013, but it's about 2008, where at that point, 40 Australian soldiers lost their lives in the war of Afghanistan. This sacrifice would not be forgotten. And it's actually memory of a guy who also served in Afghanistan. So it's very melancholy. And what it's about is a dog, is a puppy. He's born and he loses his mother to shelling in a little village in Afghanistan. So what we're looking at is the destruction, or what war brings to people in Afghanistan. But it's from a dog's perspective. And it's left. I mean, the artwork is lovely. There he is, the dog, Labrador, and he's lost in the rubble. But he's befriended by a girl at first, who at that point is allowed to go to school. That would change. And as you can see here, it's more troops to Afghanistan. We're coming into, in the story, into the fighting season after the winter. Dog wakes up, the school has been destroyed, he can't find that girl. He's wandering around for quite a while, but then Australian soldiers are sent in to rebuild that shelled school, and the soldier befriends the dog. The dog eventually is reunited with the girl again, but it's a continual warfare, as you can see, and it's just so well written, put together. The soldier went out on more patrols as autumn approached and the fighting near the Australian base intensified, and of course this soldier doesn't come back. They're written for school children to make sense of the stupidity or the destruction of people's lives, but seen from the perspective of a young man who's 19, looking back, and of course all that trauma, but then also the trauma that we wreak on animals and so on. So I applaud these people to have done these. This one is by Mark Wilson, and this one by John Schumann, pictures by Craig Smith. They're just wonderful. And I'm going to be talking next about this, because I think the problem with, as we grow older, a lot of people think that we have to give up our childish ways. And this kind of stuff, although it's bright, telling a story, I think we often underestimate the depth of what's being talked about. This one I'm going to talk about because of the way it represents a certain group of people, rather than just talk about Judge Dredd. These, I think, we overlook at our peril. I know that some people would never go through these because they look like child's work. And children's books, obviously, are for children, but they're also for adults because they talk about quite deep themes. So this fella, he's talking to the nurse. God help me, I was only 19, and he's thinking, how come I still have this skin condition that he caught in Vietnam? Someone he served with is severely injured, mine goes off, but what the guy is remembering is him just before that happened, when they were on a bit of recreation leave. Run ashore, as we'd say in the Navy. So it's just brilliant, absolutely. So glad I found these. Again, serendipity. So there you go. 2 books that if you just go into a shop, thrift shop, you may find something similar. Amazing. Ta-ta for now.